वेलकम ऑल टू आवर रेगुलर थिंकिंग थर्सडे सेशन। आज का थिंकिंग थर्सडे सेशन वेरी स्पेशल होने वाला है और इसकी ज़रूरत हम सबको पड़ती है। जो भी साइबर बुलिंग चलता है उससे कैसे निपटा जाए, उससे कैसे हम अपना प्रिकॉशंस रख सकते हैं। सो वेलकम ऑल ऑफ यू एंड टुडे आवर गेस्ट स्पीकर इज Jinal Maroo. She's CA. Jinal Maroo is a chartered accountant, All India ranked third, and certified information systems auditor with 14 years of work experience. Fortunate enough to start her career in India's CEO factory, Hindustan Unilever. Jinal made the most of her 7 years there, creating value for her organization and herself in the finance and supply chain functions. She has found joy in serving her clients as part of Deloitte India's risk advisory and information technology audit services. Now, as a speaker and trainer, she enjoys learning and sharing her knowledge about how new concepts and technologies affect our personal and professional lives. So, we are waiting for you, Jinal, and we just want you to teach us something and how we can protect ourselves with all these things. So welcome, Jinal.
Thank you, Shakuntala. Thank you so much for this opportunity. It's great to be here this evening with all of you all.
You can speak little louder or maybe your mic just set
Just one.
little louder.
Yeah, is this better?
Yeah, first class.
Okay, fine. So, thank you everybody for joining. Thank you for your time and your attention. And what I'll do is I will just quickly share my screen.
Yes.
You can just tell me whether you can see the screen.
Perfect.
Okay, perfect. So, I'm just going to put up two posters. These are two movies. One is Oh My God 2, and the other is a web series called Criminal Justice Adhura Sach. So, how many of y'all might have seen these? Maybe both or either one of these. Maybe if you can just put in an answer in the chat, or if you want to switch on your video and we can keep it interactive. Maybe if you can switch on your videos, it will be nice.
Okay. Nitin Garg.
So
Yes.
Nitin, you've seen both of them or you've seen either one?
Uh, no, I have seen just one of them. Oh my God, not the other one.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? Chaya, Akriti, Usha, Sunita.
Actually, I have not seen both the movies.
Okay. All right. So what I will do is, so the reason I have put up these two posters because both of these are directly related to our discussion today about cyberbullying. So I will just quickly tell you what these two movies are about. So in both the movies, there's a child who's subjected to cyberbullying, and the difference between the two movies is how the is this okay? Is my volume okay now?
Yes, it's fine.
Okay. So, in both of these movies, it's the parents who intervene to help their children deal with the situation of cyberbullying that they're being subjected to. The difference is, in of course, the approach. In Adhura Sach, the father takes unlawful means to get justice because in this situation his child has committed suicide, and so one can only understand the it's really hard but for a parent to lose a child, such a young child, and to something like cyberbullying. So obviously a parent feels that what could I have done to prevent this from happening, and that's really why the father takes such an extreme step. And in Oh My God 2, the father takes the legal route where he argues in the court of law to get justice for his child. So, and the reason I put up these two posters is because movies effectively are a sign of the times that we're living in. And it just underscores the growing menace that is cyber harassment or cyberbullying is what it's called when children are subjected to harassment. And that just it proves the importance of this conversation today. So that's why I had put up these two posters. And what we will do in the next 40 odd minutes is we'll look at what is cyber harassment. We'll also look at some statistics so that we can understand what is the scale of this problem. What are the different kinds of harassment that have been noticed? What is the impact? And finally, how can we be safe? And at the end, we'll take any queries that might have come up as a result of the conversation that we had, or whatever other things that we might have noticed so far. So if I look at the definition, and this is given by the National Cyber Crime Prevention Center of the US, and what they say is that when either the internet or cell phone or any kind of electronic devices are used to post either text or images, but now of course it also includes videos, which are with the intention, and this is the most important thing, the intention is to hurt or embarrass another person. When that's the intent of whatever is the material that's posted, then that's clearly cyber harassment. And we all remember Monica Lewinsky, and we might have an opinion about whatever the situation was. But unfortunately, she was one of the first, if I may say, recipients of cyber harassment, because the moment the news of her relationship with Bill Clinton was leaked in an online article, the entire nation, the entire United States, which effectively didn't even know Monica as a person, thought that they had a right to pass a judgment about her character simply because they had access to the internet and a way to post their comments. And if you think from the standpoint of the person who is at the receiving end of this deluge of judgment from people who have no idea what kind of a person she is, we can only start to imagine how hard it is for a person to be sane in that situation and then to recover from this situation. So this is one of the earliest instances of cyber harassment. And of course, now the situation is so bad. If we look at some of these statistics, it's odd because on the one hand, about a quarter of the world's population has no idea what cyberbullying is. And these are some surveys that have been run across countries. So there are quite a few countries where the awareness is very minimal. But if you look at the situation in India, so in a Microsoft study, India has been found to come up at third spot after China and Singapore in terms of the percentage of cyberbullying that the people have experienced. And in this study, all more than 50%, that's one in every two people responded that they have been at the receiving end of some form of online bullying.
This is
And
really too much.
yes, and ma'am, a lot of these respondents were children. So the sad part is it's not just adults, but even children who are at the receiving end of all kinds of harassment or cyberbullying. Another statistic, there are more than 3,000 revenge porn websites. Revenge porn typically is what happens when a couple break up and one of them leaks compromising pictures of their partner to take revenge. And the format it has taken is that it's noticed that normally it's the boy who would leak pictures of the girl along with her mobile number, so it's possible for all kinds of strangers to call the girl and subject her to all kinds of abusive language and send her all kinds of objectionable material, which basically is causes a very harrowing experience for the girl concerned. And while the law enforcement are cracking down on such websites, the problem is that every day there are new websites that are coming up. So this is a problem that's just growing and growing really fast. deep fakes. Now, the technology to make deep fake has become so easily accessible and it's so cheap that it's really easy for a person to make deep fakes. And you can see that within 1 year, the number of deep fakes has gone up from a mere 14,000 to 100 million. These numbers are absolutely staggering. And that's really why it's so important for us to know how to be safe, how to keep our children safe. Now
Right.
let's
Right. Hmm.
so now let's look at the different kinds of cyber harassment that happen. One instance is trolling. It also goes by the name of hate speech. And effectively, what is done in this case is that a lot of negative material is sent in the form of messages or abusive comments to the person, which could be for a variety of reasons. It could be because somebody is fat, it could be because of somebody's gender, it could be because of somebody's religion. The reasons are multifold, but the point is somebody decides to pick on a person and they start abusing them using the internet. Barkha Dutt, the journalist, she is the most trolled woman in India simply because of her profession. Because she ends up challenging so many people's mindsets with the kind of journalistic reporting she does. And because some people feel so threatened that they take to the internet to abuse her, which is just not fair, because if we live in a democracy and everybody has a right to express their opinion, the internet is allowing people to express their opinion in a manner that is disrespectful of another person, and that's really sad. And Harsha Bhogle, and I'm quoting him over here, he says that people hide behind the anonymity of made up Twitter handles and fire the gun, which is the most cowardly thing a person can do. And he says that a lot of young cricketers are at the receiving end of a lot of abusive comments from supposed fans of cricket. Because if they're fans, they would understand what a cricketer goes through. But people are using the internet to troll people in such an abusive manner that it's just unfortunate. So that's about trolling. Another kind of cyber harassment that happens is impersonation. And what I put up here is a deep fake of Rashmika Mandana. The picture you see on the right is the actual video, which was morphed using deepfake technology. And what you see on the left is a picture of Rashmika. And she's not the only celebrity. There are a lot of celebrities whose deepfake videos are floating around. And the sad part, like you saw the numbers a couple of slides back, is that now it's not just celebrities, it is regular people like you and me who are also being subjected to deepfake images, videos, audio clones, which are being made and are being used to impersonate people. Another problem is of fake profiles. There's been multiple instances of people making fake profiles of another person and using that to send hateful comments, which seem like they're attributed to the person whose profile is being fake. So there is an organization called Cyberbullying Action Awareness Prevention, and it's run by a lady called Nirali Patia. And she has mentioned that she gets more complaints from men than from women. These are quite a few cases of young men for whom fake profiles are made, and pictures of their female relatives, like their sisters, their wives, are morphed onto obscene content and are posted on these profiles. So it seems as if they are the ones who are trying to malign members of their own family, which ideally is just doesn't make any sense. But people who are vindictive are using this kind of method to harass people because they can't harass the gent concerned, they harass the women of their family. So it's really sad, but this is really what impersonation is now, the extent to which it's going now. Another kind of crime is doxing, which is making public the private information or images of a person without their permission. The revenge porn is one such example of doxing. Cyber arrest. This is the latest form of harassment. There have been quite a few instances in the last 6 months. And in one instance, a 23-year-old girl from Faridabad she received a call from people who said that they were law enforcement officers and they said that they had some information against her and so they needed to interrogate her. So what they asked her to do was they said switch on your webcam or whatever Skype or some other chat software was used, and they said please stay within the frame of this camera and we will interrogate you. And while we are investigating the matter, you have to stay within the frame of this video. And they just scared her, brainwashed her to such an extent that this cyber arrest went on for a total of 17 days. And though she was in her own house, she was so scared that she didn't tell anyone. She didn't even tell her family members, who were under the impression that she's doing some really important project and working on some deadline from office. So you can imagine the extent to which they can brainwash people and keep them under arrest in their own house. So that's another form of cyber harassment.
This is totally new for me.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
didn't
Yeah,
hear.
absolutely. This is completely unexpected that people can succeed in doing these kind of things, but yes, unfortunately, it's happening.
Very sad.
And while these are all forms of visible aggression, where the bully has to actually do something, which could be either to send hate speech or to impersonate a person, there are crimes of invisible aggression, and these are just as painful because when I say invisible aggression, I'm talking about crimes of exclusion, where a person is left out of conversations, they're excluded from WhatsApp groups where all their other friends are participating. So they know that there's something that's going on. There are people who are making jokes at them, talking behind their back. People are avoiding them, excluding them. And that's also a very painful situation to be in because these are the people whom you meet every day, but you're not comfortable in that space where you're spending maybe 7 or 8 hours, maybe it's at school or college or at office. And that's also another form of harassment where you can't really pinpoint that a person has done something, but they're not doing anything, as in they're not including you in a regular conversation, and that's where the harassment comes in. And finally, the metaverse. So the metaverse is something that we are still trying as a society to understand all its benefits and use cases, but it's already a place where a lot of crimes are happening. And if we think of the metaverse, it's really more like some kind of fancy dress where you don some kind of virtual avatar to participate. And if you think of it, you need some kind of hardware. Like, for example, if you go to watch a 3D movie, they give you 3D glasses. So you can put on those glasses and then you can watch the movie. So similarly, if you want to experience the metaverse, you need a VR headset which is similar to the 3D glasses. You need a haptic glove like the one you see on the screen right now, and you have like a haptic vest. Now, the haptic glove and haptic vest effectively come with a lot of touch sensors which vibrate. And when in the metaverse, when one digital avatar taps another digital avatar on the shoulder, the physical body of that person experiences that virtual tap as a physical tap simply because those touch sensors vibrate. So it feels like somebody's actually touched you on the shoulder. But the sad part is with all of these fake profiles, hacked accounts, you don't really know who's the other person at the other end of the digital avatar. And things are a lot worse than just a tap on the shoulder. And that's why the metaverse is a place where a lot of cyber harassment cases have been reported. So if I were to lay out the landscape of cyber harassment today, this kind of covers it substantially. We will now look at what is really the impact of these kind of instances. Now, it's been noticed that people who are at the receiving end of cyber harassment experience such huge amounts of stress that it starts affecting their ability to operate in general. Their workplace productivity drops. They start having relationship issues. They're not able to communicate with their family, with their friends, with colleagues. And a lot of them contemplate suicide, and quite a few of them are successful, which is the unfortunate reason we actually have a word called bully side. And people's self-esteem takes such a knock that it's really hard for them to move on after this kind of experience and go back to life as it was before they experienced this kind of harassment. And that's really the most unfortunate and the largest toll that we as a society are paying, because imagine if one in two people on that survey said that they're at the receiving end of online bullying. Imagine the number of people we have with self-esteem issues, because unfortunately these are the people who will also end up becoming bullies. So we are also creating bullies in the process of not being able to deal with this problem. And that's really the impact that the kind of cyber harassment we are seeing today is creating. So now let's talk about measures that we can take to be safe in this scenario. It's important to remember that there is nothing like a delete button on the internet. And so it's extremely important that we are able to prevent to the extent possible. Our phones have so much information these days that it's important for us to guard our phones with our lives. So the first control is the physical custody of your phone has got to be with you. It can't be with anyone else because it has your photographs, it has your access to your money, it has access to all your social media handles. So it's extremely important that you keep your phone with you physically all the time. Another thing we can do to protect our phones is to lock it with either a pin, or even better would be a biometric. Typically, most phones come equipped with either a fingerprint biometric or another format which can be used to lock our phones. The other important thing to remember with phones is that when we download apps, we download them from the App Store. Never download an app from a link that you received either on an SMS or an email or some kind of forwarded message, because that, in all likelihood, can be a carrier of some form of virus or malware, which can then spy on your phone activity, take your information, and access your various social media handles. So it's important that we keep our phones safe physically and protected through a password, through biometric. Now, if we look at our social media usage, it's extremely important that we have a strong password. And while RBI has been saying that in the context of financial frauds, it applies equally to our social media platforms as well. I can tell you about an instance that happened in a school in Mumbai where a girl had shared her password with her best friend. And for some reason, they had a fight, and the best friend was unfortunately no longer the best friend. And she went and shared that password with a bunch of other classmates, and they started operating her social media account, sending all kinds of rude comments to a lot of people. And people started approaching her, asking her why she was being so nasty to them. And that's when she realized what had happened. All of this could have been avoided if she had just kept her password a secret. So it's extremely important that we keep our passwords a secret, and it's important that we tell our family members, especially the children in the family, also. Another thing it's been noticed is that people use the same password for their all their social media accounts, mailboxes, net banking. That's also a practice that needs to stop, because if one password is leaked, it means access to all social media accounts, mailboxes, and net banking access is all opened up. So please have a different password for each access, and activate two-factor authentication. So when I say two-factor authentication, it means that the access to your social media will require one, your password, and second, an OTP. So that's like having two doors to get into a room. So it becomes that much more difficult to access your account if you have two-factor authentication. And it's possible to activate this not just for your mailbox, but also for all your social media handles. So please make sure you activate two-factor authentication today. Please tell all your dear ones to do that as well. Another thing is this concept of circles of trust. In, I'm sorry, I think this has jumped a slide. Yeah. So the other important thing about social media is the information that we share. And sometimes without realizing it, we share a lot of information. So there are three categories of information to bear in mind. First is information that you are never to share. And I mean never. I just can't overemphasize this. which is things like your cell number, your mobile, your email address, your residential address, things like a PAN and Aadhaar, and compromising pictures of yourself or others. These are things that you never share online, because remember, there's no delete button on the internet. If we share compromising pictures of others, then we can be hauled up. And if we share compromising pictures of ourselves, then we are liable to being blackmailed by people who get access to these pictures. It is noticed that people end up requesting these kind of pictures, and people send them because they trust each other, especially people in relationships. And then if for some reason people are no longer together, then all kinds of revenge porn happen. So that's why it's important that you never share compromising pictures of yourself with anyone, no matter how much you trust them and no matter how much they request and plead with you to share these kind of pictures. Please don't do that, because then you're creating an unsafe situation for yourself. The second category of information is information that you can share within a closed group. When I say closed group, I mean your family and friends. This could be pictures of yourself, your children, your information about a celebration in the family, maybe a wedding, some upcoming vacation. But it's important to remember that you share it with a closed group. And that's where making sure that your profile is a private profile on social media is extremely important. Because if, as per the privacy settings, your profile is a public profile, then anything you share will be visible to people who are on that platform. So please make sure you go back and check your settings on your social media accounts. Make sure your profiles are private. In Facebook, in spite of having a private profile, there could be some posts which could be public. So go back to your post settings and make sure that all your posts are only visible to your friends. So these are important privacy settings. And I'm quoting from Instagram and LinkedIn. Instagram itself says that your followers on Instagram should be people whom you know from the real world. So if we use Instagram to communicate with strangers, then we are creating an unsafe situation for ourselves. So extremely important that we keep our profiles private and we share this information with only that private set of people, which is typically our family and friends. And the third piece of information is information that you can share in a public post, which could be either some general stuff, nothing to do with you as a person. When I say general stuff, you could share a news article you've read and you've liked, or if there's some piece of music you've heard and you've liked. So these are the kind of things that you can share. Could be a normal, regular conversation that you can have in a public post, but nothing to do with you as an individual personally. So remember to keep this classification of information in mind when you're sharing or posting online. The next is a concept of circles of trust within psychology. And the concept really is that we trust, or rather we mistrust strangers completely, because obviously we don't know anything about a stranger. So it's only right to mistrust a stranger. But our level of trust slowly increases. Like we'll trust an acquaintance a little more than we'll trust a stranger. Or we'll trust our office colleagues a little more than we trust an acquaintance. And obviously, we trust our family and friends a lot more. And the maximum trust is reserved only for ourselves. Now, this concept of circles of trust is important because in our regular life, we will never take a stranger into our home simply because we mistrust a stranger. But online, when we accept a friend request from a person whom we don't know from the real world, what we are effectively doing is we are taking a stranger inside our house. And it's important to understand this concept because nowadays it has become quite common for people to befriend people online, complete strangers whom you don't know from the real world. But it is a fact that there are 50-year-olds pretending to be 20-year-olds, there are men pretending to be women, and there are a host of lies that are being told out. So if we befriend strangers, then we need to remember that we are allowing them access to information about our lives which can be misused. So it's advocated, advised not to befriend strangers online. And that's just basically exercising the same discretion online that we would do in the offline world. So it's the same logic. Just because we've gone online, the logic doesn't change. The mechanics of dealing with people don't change. So we just need to remember to apply this concept online so that we can be safe. The other concept is about keeping smart devices secure. And today, other than our phones and laptops, there are a lot of smart devices that we use, ranging from our smart watches, smart speakers, smart wearables, and a lot more. So, the principle to keep in mind is that whenever you start using a smart device, acquaint yourself with the privacy settings to the extent that you have attuned them to your comfort level. And I can give you one example here. If you look at Google Home, there are options in the privacy settings where you can set future recordings to erase automatically. Now, if you've not checked that box, it means that all the recordings of conversations in your house are being stored by Google Home. Now, because they are being stored, they can of course use AI tools to harness it and then market stuff to you. But other than that, anybody else who hacks into your home network will also be able to listen to all those conversations. So it's extremely important that you go and look at the privacy settings of any smart device you start to use before you use it. And if you already have smart devices in your place, I would recommend go back, look at the privacy settings, make sure that you've tuned them to your level of comfort. Whatever is the best possible security in the scenario, we can activate it ourselves if we just look at the privacy settings. That's all. It's pretty straightforward, provided we just take 5 minutes to do it.
Would you please repeat this setting?
So, ma'am, effectively in any of the smart devices, there would be something like a settings option.
Okay.
In most of the menus, drop down menus, there is settings. And if you explore that, you will see privacy settings. It could go by the name of security, it could go by the name of privacy. The minute you click on that option, and you look at the options, because the options will be different in every device. Some devices are from Amazon, some are from Microsoft, some are from Google. So I can't tell you each and every setting, but the ground rule is that look at the privacy settings, see what the options are. Like this one, what I gave you as an example, in case of Google Home, they have an option that if you just check that box, meaning if you tick that box, if the box read, the option is set all future recordings to delete automatically. Now, if you set all recordings, future recordings to erase automatically.
Okay.
Now, if we haven't gone and selected that box, what it's effectively doing is it's saving all the recordings of our conversations.
Okay.
So all we need to do is open those privacy settings and check all those boxes so that our data remains as safe as we can possibly keep it. Now, if we don't do this, then all that data is available to them. They use AI tools to mine all this conversation. And that's how you start seeing ads related to any product that you have talked about. So, for example, if you've talked about visiting from Jaipur to Mumbai, you'll suddenly start seeing ads of flights for Jaipur to Mumbai.
Right.
How does that happen? How do they come to know? Because they have tools which, one, they've already been listening into your conversation because you might have a smart speaker or some other smart device. And they have AI tools, because when you talk about recordings, imagine like one person's recording of 24 hours and multiply that by the number of devices, not even by the number of people. One person has 5 devices, you multiply by the number of devices. So if you have those many hours of footage, Google is using AI tools to harness this data and market products to you. So they are doing it to sell products to you. That is, of course, their marketing business.
Right.
But what I am trying to say here is that all that data is also available on your network. Anybody who hacks into your home network will be able to listen to these conversations and they'll come to know things about our conversation. Sometimes we end up in the house when we are talking to each other, we might tell each other the passwords. So you might just tell someone in your family that, yeah, to log into my SBI, this is my password. Now, if they've heard that, that's enough for them to be able to get into your SBI and take the money out. So I'm just giving you one example. These can also be used. One is recordings of audio. There might also be video footage that might be stored in some devices. And these can be used to spy on people. Like if you look at the next example, This was a picture of Mark Zuckerberg, which was taken, and somebody has taken the trouble to analyze this photograph. Now, if you look at this photograph, and I've tried to blow it up here,
Yeah.
you can see there's a small piece of tape on the laptop camera of Mark Zuckerberg. So you can see his laptop over there, and
Yeah.
right in the middle of the screen where I've put in a circle is
Yeah.
where there's a small piece of tape on his laptop camera.
Yes.
Now, the reason he has covered his laptop camera with a piece of tape is because laptop cameras can be hijacked and people can spy on you using your own camera.
Okay.
And this can be used to take footage. You might not even realize that your camera is on, and you might be doing some things in your house. So they're watching you, they might be using that footage, and then they start. It has happened in case of there was a lady called Miss Cassidy Wolf who was Miss Teen USA, and her laptop was similarly hijacked. Pictures of her were taken when she was changing in her own house, and then those pictures were used to blackmail her. Of course, because she was Miss Teen USA, they got the FBI involved and they cracked down on the miscreant, and of course, they managed to avoid the damage.
Mm.
But that kind of speed may not be available to regular citizens because at the end of the day, even the police is overburdened.
Yeah.
So these are things that if Mark Zuckerberg, the creator of Facebook, is doing it, then that's something we should definitely seriously consider doing. So if you're not using your laptop camera, consider covering it with a piece of tape.
Okay.
So this is in terms of our devices, and these were a lot of technology solutions that we spoke of so far. But this
So,
is a non-technology solution, and this is the most important in my opinion because it's very important. The only thing we can control is our attitude, and when I say our attitude, it means the fact that we have a certain amount of self-belief and self-esteem, so that if somebody were to send us these kind of messages, or if somebody were to blackmail us with some kind of objectionable material, we remember to stay calm, stay focused, and remember that we can deal with these situations. And it's only that time that we would be able to deal with these kind of situations. When we are calm, we won't end up. See, the reason people have put a lot of these photographs online is because they're craving likes, they're craving followers, they're
true.
craving
True.
friends, and that's why they accept strangers as friends because they want that I should have 500 friends, I should have 1,000 friends. But are those
Right.
people friends or are they just strangers to whom you're opening up your life? So if we have a good amount of self-esteem, if we have a good attitude towards ourselves, we don't need approval of outsiders and strangers, and then we won't expose ourselves to these unsafe situations. So this is the most important non-technology control. It's important that we be confident the kind of people we are ourselves without having to depend on external approval. If that is in place, then a lot of this can be prevented. And assume in some unfortunate situation, if someone is at the receiving end of some kind of cyber harassment, what can the person do? Well, the first thing a person needs to do is you need to tell your family. The reason you need to tell your family is because sometimes when we are at the receiving end of this kind of harassment, it's our family who will support us, and they will be, at least there'll be somebody in the situation who will be able to think objectively, and they'll be able to suggest solutions. So it's extremely important that we first seek support from our family. It's important that we tell this to our children because children tend to get, even adults get scared, and children get even more scared because they feel that, oh my god, now mom and dad are going to shout at me, they're going to punish me, and so children get worried and they don't come home and tell their family. So it's important that we have these conversations at home. It's important that we communicate to our children that it's okay if something happens, just come home and tell us, we will find a solution together. It's important that every child have that faith that no matter what, I can go home and tell mom and dad and they'll make things okay. So that's the first thing. Second, block the bully. Don't engage with a bully. If there's somebody who's sending you hateful messages or sending you objectionable photographs, first thing you do is block the bully. Block them on whatever platform, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. It's possible to block on all of these profiles or on all of these platforms. Even on WhatsApp, if a person is sending you hateful messages, you can block them. don't engage, because when you engage, a bully starts getting the kind of attention that they want, and then they continue. So don't engage with a bully, block them. The next thing to do is to save the evidence. Whatever information, whether it's some messages, some pictures, some emails, videos, whatever it is that you have that this person has sent you, save all the evidence, because that is what the police will need to be able to track down this person. The next thing we need to do is we need to report this kind of harassment to the government portal, the cybercrime.gov.in. They also have a helpline number 1930. So on either of these, we can report the crime, and also on the social media platform. So for example, if it's on Facebook that somebody is harassing a person, they need to report to Facebook that this profile is sending me hateful messages, and Facebook will block that account. So while you block them, when I say you block them, they can't send messages to you. But when Facebook blocks that ID, it means that person can't send messages to anyone. So make sure that you also report it on the platform where this harassment is happening.
How do you send messages to like Facebook and all? How can I send?
So, ma'am, there are in the help section. So, in your Facebook account, there will be a help section where if you click on that drop down, it will show you options to report harassment.
Okay.
So you can click on that, and from there you can give details of the profile which is sending you hateful messages, and then Facebook or Insta, whichever is the platform, they will block that account.
All right. All right.
And in addition to reporting it on the cybercrime portal, you need to go to a cybercrime police station and you need to file an FIR, because it's only when the complaint gets converted into an FIR that the police will start working on it. So just reporting it on the portal is not enough. You need to go to a cybercrime police station, not a normal police station. There are cybercrime police stations. So you need to go there and you need to file an FIR. Then the police will start taking action on the matter. Another thing to remember is never pay any ransom. If somebody is blackmailing you and asking for money to keep objectionable pictures of you, to not publish them on social media, they might be demanding money, but never pay the ransom. Digital detox. Now, you might want to consider going off social media for some time, and it's perfectly okay, because if somebody is constantly receiving all kinds of negative, abusive messages, it's normal to want to take a break. So it's okay if you want to go off social media for some time and just calm down and recover from the situation. And finally, how do you reboot your digital life in this situation? Now, it's statistically more 95% people. So, if you were to Google your name, if you just open Google and put in your name and hit search, you'll get some kind of search results. Now, statistically, it's been shown that 95% people don't go beyond the first 10 search results, and 99% don't go beyond the first 2 pages. So effectively, if there are objectionable pictures of you floating on the internet, you can't delete it. There's nothing you can do about it. But what you can do is you can front load positive content. Now, when I say front load, I mean these first 2 pages of the search results is all you have to manage. And to manage this, the first 3 hits on your name will typically be your Facebook page, your LinkedIn page, your Twitter page. So these 3 pages, you've got control of these 3 handles. So 3 out of 20 are taken care of. For the balance 17, what you need to do is you go and create content for yourself. And the way to do it is you can go to websites of credible news agencies, could be a Times of India, Indian Express, Statesman. Read good articles, comment on them. Your name will start showing up on those search results. Or you can go to profiles of celebrities or sports people who are very popular, whom you idolize and follow, and you can comment on their blogs, their websites, their posts. So again, your name will start coming up in these search results. And these, because they're popular celebrities, they're popular news websites, they will come higher in the search rankings than any other content. So that's how you manage your digital footprint after having been at the receiving end of this kind of harassment. So front load positive content, reboot your digital life, and learn from the celebrities. If you look at a Rashmika Mandana or if you look at an Alia Bhatt, they've all recovered from these kind of situations. See, that there's a limitless number of deep fakes that are floating outside about these celebrities. They can't go and stop all of this. So what do? They just learn to ignore this kind of stuff and they move on with their life. They continue to do their work so that when somebody searches for their name, all the good work that they have done comes up. And we need to learn to do the same thing. That's how we can recover. Life after these kind of incidents is possible. And we just need to remember that we are precious. We don't need other people's approval. And if we remember that, then it's possible to move on from these kind of cases of harassment. So that's really what I had to share. And I'm happy to take any questions that you might have.
Anybody, any question? Welcome.
No, I was going to say it was an excellent session. I think
Thank you.
I think more people should have joined, and I think not just for kids, because I was just relating to the young generation. So I think it's a need of an hour. So some of the things that you mentioned, it is good. So especially your phone devices. So there is an accessibility option where every app that we download that has an accessibility which and some of the things we don't realize, but they have this options, privacy options, where they have complete access to your phone. So I mean, I think we need to educate, and as you rightly said, it happens with most of us. So while we are talking, in private, so the phone is listening, and this is like the next technology. So as you rightly mentioned, it happened with a lot of people. In fact, it happened with me until I realized. So you are talking about something, and then you will start getting those advertisements. So yeah, it is wonderful. I think we need to educate and, as I said, like with all the digital things and all, it's becoming more relevant. And I think most of the kids, especially young generation, they're just not prepared for this. Most of the thing, as a human being, we just trust people emotionally. So yeah, I think it was an excellent session. We should at least help forward to a few people so they also become more aware of these stuff. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm happy I was able to add value.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is really excellent session, I must say, just like
Thank you.
how Nitin is saying, because even I didn't know so many things. See, I am from a IT background, but I was not knowing about all these bullying which you were telling me, like the one you told that uh, they captured one lady to be there in the camera for maybe 17 days. Oh
Yes,
my God, this is like just like a torture. And if it
absolutely.
is for a teenager or like 20s people, it's really a torture. Uh, so we have to be careful. And even I was not even knowing these things are happening in so and interestingly, you have taught us all these important points like that. I was just noting down this website name where we can go, and even on the Facebook you can respond there only. You told that, and this Google Home, I didn't even know about this. So, anyways, I'll be more cautious and I'll check whether
In
this.
fact, ma'am, our cyber police is in fact very helpful and very active. And I think some of these things, if we can be careful, we can automatically prevent a lot of cybercrime because there are some really bad harassment cases that happen, and it takes up a lot of the time of the police to actually resolve those kind of issues. So we can, the whole idea, in fact, the government has a cyber Jagrukta initiative that has been on for the last 2 years. They're trying really hard to educate everybody in society at large because it at the end of the day, we keep saying that India is a young country. Our big advantage is our young youth population. But if our youth is going to be mentally disturbed and harassed, then we are not going to get any advantage as a country. So it's extremely important as a nation that we protect our youth.
Right, right, true. And I remember like maybe in 2021 I was like एक fraud हुआ था मेरे साथ. So I immediately like sometimes we think we have so much of things to do and अब इसका complaint क्यों करना है ये सब. But I immediately complained and to the police people, and then they gave me the cyber वाला number. And they did, उन्होंने अपना सारा किया. But then they told, because my amount was not that great, because on those days frauds were happening every day. There was a news of like 1 lakh 2 lakh इतना जा रहा था. Mine was just 5,000 rupees. So then they really helped me, and they told that the person has used that amount, so we can't get that back. Okay, then I thought, okay, this was my lesson learned for 5,000 rupees. So I'm like really careful now. And recently, now when I was listening your lecture, तो मुझे अच्छा लगा in the sense कि, for example, I have removed my birth date to be
Yes.
displayed from Facebook. Okay.
Correct.
So now I don't get unnecessarily phone calls or messages and all, because otherwise people don't even remember when is your birthday. So only those people जिनका आप reply कर सकते हो उन्हीं का ही आता है. So I'm really at peace. और मुझे लग रहा है ये सब जो मैंने जो कुछ भी किया आपका लेक्चर सुन के, तो लग रहा है बहुत सही किया. एंड आई डोंट हैव मेनी अकाउंट्स आल्सो. आई थिंक दिस इज गुड.
इनफैक्ट मैम आपने डेट ऑफ बर्थ बता दिया, वो बहुत अच्छा किया, बिकॉज
हाँ.
बहुत सारे लोग अपने डेट ऑफ बर्थ को किसी तरह अपने पासवर्ड में जोड़ते हैं. तो
ओके.
पासवर्ड हैक करना आसान हो जाता है अगर आपको किसी का पूरा डेट ऑफ बर्थ पता हो. तो इनफैक्ट आपने जो किया है वो बहुत अच्छा किया है.
हाँ.
डेट ऑफ बर्थ तो ओपन नहीं रखना चाहिए, बिकम वेरी
राइट.
इजी टू हैक एन अकाउंट.
राइट.
इसके अलावा एक और जो सबसे बड़ा इशू आजकल हो रहा है, विच इज विद सीनियर सिटीजन्स. आई थिंक इट वाज नॉट कवर्ड इन योर प्रेजेंटेशन, बट तो आजकल क्या हो रहा है कि इट हैपेंड विद अ फ्यू नोन पीपल. तो जैसे बेस्कॉम है, इलेक्ट्रिसिटी है, they will call you, and especially they will target the senior citizens who are 70 plus, क्योंकि they are मतलब the presumption है कि they are lonely, उनके पास कुछ काम नहीं है. So the moment they get a call, it happened with my father a few years back. So they will scare you saying आपका तो बिल पे नहीं हुआ. So then they will ask you, and वो लोग भी खाली हैं, तो they also get engaged कि कोई बात नहीं, अगर आपको हम बताते हैं कैसे करना है, आप ये बस ऐप डाउनलोड कर लीजिए, मैं आपको बताता हूँ. And then engaging them, they will take a PAN card or something, so they'll siphon off money from your bank account. So this is happening with a lot of these day-to-day applications hai, where you are paying mobile bill, electricity bill, and they are targeting senior citizens especially.
True. In fact, RBI has come out with this booklet called Raju or Chalice Store, where they have explained 40 different formats of financial frauds. So, and it's very educative, because if you look at the creativity of the fraudsters, the way they structure the conversation, and people don't realize, people don't read the OTP message completely. Ideally, the OTP message carries the amount of the debit, and it also has कि आप किसको पैसे ट्रांसफर कर रहे हैं. तो आपको जब कोई ओटीपी मांगता है, तो अगर आप ओटीपी मैसेज पढ़ोगे तो आपको पता चल जाएगा कि ये ओटीपी देने से कितने पैसे जाएंगे और किसको जाएंगे. बट बिकॉज वो उतना बातों में उलझा देते हैं लोगों को, उनको बोलते हैं नहीं नहीं अर्जेंट है, अभी करो, अभी नहीं करेंगे तो ये प्रॉब्लम हो जाएगा, बिल कनेक्शन कट जाएगा, एंड पीपल
Exactly.
गेट ऑल वरिड. तो ओटीपी मैसेज पढ़े बगैर, हाँ ओटीपी आया निकाला ऐसे ही दे दिया. जबकि एक्चुअली आप ओटीपी मैसेज पढ़ोगे तो आपको पता चल जाएगा कितने पैसे का डेबिट आने वाला है और किसको पैसे जाने वाले हैं.
मेरे साथ
बट
तो ये एक्चुअल एग्जांपल हुआ जो मतलब इवन विद ऑल द इंफॉर्मेशन आई हैव, इवन आई गॉट ल्यूड. आई जस्ट रियलाइज लास्ट मोमेंट. तो मेरे फादर को मैसेज आया कि आपका पेमेंट नहीं हुआ. तो जो आई आई यूजुअली पेड ऑनलाइन. तो मैंने बोला आप नंबर भेजो, कौन कॉल कर रहा था. आई कॉल्ड द गाय, ही सेड आपका पेमेंट, मैंने बोला पेमेंट कर दिया ऑनलाइन. कह रहा अच्छा अच्छा कोई बात नहीं, तो यू जस्ट अपडेटेड ऑन वन ऐप, आई गिव यू अ लिंक. मुझे लगा शायद इवन विद ऑल दिस so you're not just aware basically. So I said okay. The moment I downloaded, I just realized कि तो मतलब it's a sharing app. So immediately I disconnected the call. But जो लोग इतना मतलब aware नहीं होते, तो all these frauds are happening very rampantly.
इनफैक्ट इट्स अ गुड आइडिया टू हैव अ फोन एंटीवायरस, बिकॉज फोन एंटीवायरस होता है तो ये काफी सारे स्पाईवेयर मैलवेयर पकड़ में आ जाते हैं.
हाँ,
सो फोन एंटीवायरस इज अ वेरी गुड इन्वेस्टमेंट. हम लोग नॉर्मली लैपटॉप एंटीवायरस करते हैं, पर फोन एंटीवायरस भी अभी आजकल बहुत जरूरी हो गया है फॉर प्रिसाइसली
right.
दिस रीजन. तो वैसे तो आई हैव अनदर सेशन व्हिच फोकसेस ऑन फाइनेंशियल फ्रॉड्स. इफ यू वांट टू आई कैन कम एंड हैव दैट
Yeah,
कॉन्वर्सेशन एज
sure,
वेल.
sure.
आजकल तो फोकस ही साइबर बुलिंग का, तो आई डिडंट रियली फोकस ऑन द फाइनेंशियल एस्पेक्ट.
No, no, no. We can have your one more session on finance because we need it. इसको और आए दिन किसी न किसी का फ्रॉड होता रहता है, तो विल डिजाइन दैट और फिर कभी आपका सेशन जरूर रखेंगे. इवन ये सेशन भी बहुत अच्छा है, बहुत इंफॉर्मेटिव है. मेरे को तो बहुत सारी चीजों के बारे में पता ही नहीं था जो ये सब चल रहा है. कुछ चीजें ठीक है न्यूज में आ गई थी, ये सब देखा था, बट रियली. और अभी ये एक ऐसी अवेयरनेस है जो किसी स्कूल कॉलेज और इंस्टीट्यूट में पढ़ाई नहीं गई है, मगर फिर भी सबसे जरूरी है.
पर
एंड
मैम, सिर्फ एक चीज कहना चाहूंगी कि आप ये जो भी आपने आज सुना है उसकी वजह से आप चिंता में मत आइएगा. हर
नहीं,
चीज का एक ब्रह्मास्त्र सोल्यूशन यही है कि कोई भी आपको कोई भी चीज जल्दी जल्दी में करने बोले ना, तो आप 2 मिनट रुक जाइए.
करेक्ट.
कोई भी चीज में आपको कोई भी अर्जेंसी वाला मैसेज भेजेगा ना, वो वही ट्राई करते हैं. हर फ्रॉडस्टर जो भी होता है ना, वो ऐसे ही आपको उलझाएगा और बोलेगा कि ये अभी नहीं किया ना तो बहुत सारी गड़बड़ हो जाएगी. एक्चुअली लाइफ में कोई गड़बड़ नहीं होती है. आप 5 मिनट रुको, शांति से 3 लंबी से सांसें लोगे ना, आपको ऑटोमेटिकली समझ में आएगा कि इसमें क्या खेलना है.
ट्रू.
तो आप चिंता कभी मत करो. ये मत सोचना कि अरे बाप रे इतनी सारी नई चीजें हो रही हैं और मैं कैसे इसके साथ कोप करूं. तो चिंता में तो बिल्कुल नहीं आना है. बस शांति से 3 गहरी सांसें लोगे, ऑटोमेटिकली हमारा कॉमन सेंस काम करने लगता है कि ये जो बोल रहा है ना इसमें ये सही नहीं है, इसमें ना ये सही नहीं है. 2 चीजें गलत पकड़ में आ गई तो आपको तुरंत इस बात का सोल्यूशन खुद ही आ जाएगा. जैसे अभी सर ने बोला, वो बस 2 मिनट रुकने की जरूरी है. वो जो 2 मिनट मैगी नूडल है ना, बस वही याद रखना है. 2 मिनट मैगी बनाओ और खाओ, ऑटोमेटिकली दिमाग में सोल्यूशन आ जाएगा.
गुड आइडिया, गुड आइडिया, वेरी
तो
नाइस.
चिंता मत कीजिए.
ट्रू, ट्रू. थैंक यू, थैंक यू सो मच जीनल. किसी और को कोई क्वेश्चन पूछना है आप पूछ सकते हैं. एनीबडी, एनी क्वेश्चन? So no question. That's okay. Thank you so much, जीनल. हमको बहुत इंफॉर्मेटिव सेशन मिला आपके लिए, एक्सीलेंट था. और हम चाहेंगे कि आप एक बार और भी आएं और फाइनेंस वाले के बारे में भी हमें थोड़ा सा अवेयरनेस हो. बाद में ये सेशन लोग बाग यूट्यूब पे भी देखेंगे, तो उनका भी भला हो, हमारा भी भला हो, उनका भी भला हो. सो थैंक यू सो मच.
थैंक यू. इस मौके के लिए थैंक यू. आपके टाइम के लिए थैंक यू.